Hello and welcome back to the Nas Metal Productions channel here at YouTube. Welcome to another album of the week. This is, of course, episode number 44. So, of course, for being a Metaltober 2019 themed album of the week, and of course, the first of three, because of course, there's only 4 weeks or 5 weeks here right now of within October. There can only be four Metaltober themed album of the week episodes. So to kick it off, I'm picking, of course, album I've already did a discography review for, and that's of course is Blood Feast's second full-length album, Chopping Block Blues, which was actually released in 1989. Though don't know what day or month it was released, so I could never do a anniversary pick on this one. But still, it was released in 1989, not 1990, which some will say was probably released in 90, but that's probably because of most of them were reissues, mostly in the Netherlands, by Flame Trader. So it was originally released in 1989 by what was the label? I think it was Restless, if I'm not mistaken. No, Colossal Records. Excuse me. No, Restless did the cassette pressing of this one, but it was Colossal Records that did the CD, the original CD pressing, and was the first one to release it. And it was released sometime in 1989. But since I could never find a specific day or month this album was released. Instead, since it's a very Halloween-themed album, it's got the themes of horror and so on. Just again, horror, gore, and so on, basically being the themes for your typical splatter film or grindhouse kind of horror film and so on. Again, it's just perfect for the Metaltober and just perfect for October and Halloween and so on. So I'm definitely making this the first Metaltober 19 themed edition of Album of the Week. So let's definitely just kind of go briefly into this album because I don't want to completely do a full-on review. I don't want to like re-review it and so on. I already did that as a way to kind of build up into their 2017 comeback album, The Future State of Wicked, which again was back in 2017. I was like 2 years ago. So it's definitely just go kind of briefly. This definitely was, for a while, would have been their very last album, and especially for the original lineup of being Gary Markovich on vocals, Mike Basden on guitars, and Lou Starita on bass, and of course Kevin Kuzma on drums. Adam Tranquilli had left prior to the recording of this album, and would eventually reform the band. Though, again, he didn't play on this album, which is kind of something. Even if they do play any of the Chopping Block Blues stuff live, it's still kind of funny the fact that this is the only Blood Feast album he's never played on. And this one mostly features a lot of the original members. Most of these members, I think he either has come and gone. But as far as the reformation, no other member from this album is still with, or is at least a part of Blood Feast this day. It's just Adam Tranquilli, and definitely is still good enough new guys. And again, all doing their best to try and bust their ass to keep the name going. But again, Adam Tranquilli didn't play on this album, so it's just kind of funny. Anyways, still. It's definitely a good album for sure. It's definitely one of the longer ones. Again, it clocks in around 43 minutes and 44 seconds. And it, of course, kicks off with a very sort of rather technical instrumental titled The Last Remains, which I think at one point was actually going to be the name of the album, but instead they went with the song Chopping Block Blues, which is actually the third track on this album. And the second song, or full song, that feature the vocals of Gary Markovich. But again, this album is a very technical. It's not nearly as sloppy or as raw. Even though I don't like to use that because the word sloppy to describe their sound because of They're just a very good raw, just a very youthful sounding thrash metal band. And their first two releases being, of course, Kill for Pleasure and the the EP titled Face Fate, which are all great stuff. Face Fate was definitely those two songs, though, because technically the other two songs were just remixes of two tracks off the Kill for Pleasure round. But again, the two originals that were for Face Fate definitely showed the band definitely kind of expanding into a different direction. They were definitely moving a little more towards definitely kind of tightening their craft instead of tightening their musicianship and the writing and so on. And what we get here was basically kind of that, but again, it just takes it a little more further. It's definitely more technical here. Still heavy, still thrashy, and still somewhat kind of flirts with a little bit of some proto death metal here and there. And again, Blood Feast are kind of considered one of the earlier sort of death thrash kind of bands or early death bands, kind of like that, alongside bands like Possessed, Death, and Necrophagia and those kind of bands. So they definitely kind of fit in within that mold. But this album is definitely more technical. I would say in some parts it's definitely very Slayer-esque. More, definitely probably even more technical than anything you probably would have got from Slayer at the time. But still very much, again, you got, again, some great, just all around fantastic musicianship. I know I'm already starting to kind of review it, but that's because of when I just get into these kind of videos, I just will get very enthused and just want to just talk about it because of, I think this is very much an underrated album by Blood Feast, and some people would rather overlook this because of it being either being too technical or it just doesn't completely stand up to the very raw, youthful sound of either Kill for Pleasure or Face Fate. Or within these days, maybe their newest release, The Future State of Wicked. But I think this is a solid album. I mean, there's just plenty of good songs here. Hunted, Stalked, and Slain. The title track, Dropping Like Flies, Born Innocent, Turn to Dust, Spasmodic, and of course the last track, Remnants, are just all classic staples of just really good technical, heavy, a sort of proto death thrash metal. It's just great stuff all around. So with that, just want to definitely briefly kind of bring it up. It was definitely, I think it's a solid album, and I think right now, since of course I could have also mentioned this or threw this in within any of my my Halloween playlist, especially the one for obscure metal. I could have threw it in there, but a album of the week spotlight on this, I just felt like leaving it out. But still, this would be perfect also to kind of throw in any sort of, Halloween playlist, or, to kind of throw on the background and turn it up and crank it up and so on, while just to get you into the spirit and the mood and the whole entire, just the whole mood for this month, just to get you pumped and so on, just get you pumped. So with that, hope you all enjoyed. Definitely a great album. Definitely, if you haven't listened to this album, or even if you just feel like, if you have and you want to revisit it, definitely go and do so. I think it's definitely an album that's worth revisiting, especially within this time of year. So with that, hope you all enjoyed. This is Harry Thrasher saying I'm out. I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone, and definitely hope you all enjoy this month of Metaltober, and I hope you all will end up enjoying all of October in general. So take care, everyone. Have a nice weekend, nice week, so on. Take care.